Everyone, today we'll discuss about the composition of the blood. The blood consists of two main components, plasma and cellular elements. Now, what is plasma? It is the liquid portion of the blood which is light yellow color, and it is an alkaline liquid, which means that the pH is more than 7. And plasma mainly consists of inorganic salts like NaCl, sodium bicarbonate, glucose, amino acids, protein, fibrinogen is present, hormones, urea. All these are present in the plasma. And if you consider the term serum is plasma minus fibrinogen. So fibrinogen is a protein which is present in the blood. So if plasma without fibrinogen is known as serum. Now next we have the cellular elements. There are three cellular elements present in the blood. You have the RBCs, the red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, and the blood platelets. One by one we'll discuss about them. First of all, the red blood corpuscles, they are also known as erythrocytes. Now these erythrocytes which are there, they are minute structures and they are biconcave disc-like structure, right? And they are very small in size. You cannot view them with the naked eye. They are very small in size and they are produced in the marrow of the long bones, like in your ribs, ilium of the hip girdle. In the adults, they are produced there. And in the embryo, when the fetus in the embryo stage, it is produced by liver and spleen. And the RBCs, the lifespan of the RBCs, it is of 120 days. The RBCs, they are very small and they have concavities on both the sides, which will provide a large surface area. So because the more the surface area of the RBCs, more efficient they will be in absorbing the oxygen. So they will absorb more oxygen because of the large surface area of the RBCs. Now RBCs, they contain hemoglobin, which is formed of two words, heme and globin. Heme is the iron part and globin is the protein. So it is the pigment, the respiratory pigment, which is formed of an iron containing part, heme, and protein. And hemoglobin has the ability to readily combine with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. But this oxyhemoglobin which is formed, it is an unstable compound. It readily gives out oxygen to the needy tissues. It breaks down, oxygen is delivered to the tissues, and only hemoglobin is left behind. Now if you'll see that a mammalian red blood cells, they don't have any nucleus, they don't have mitochondria, they don't have endoplasmic reticulum. So now what is the purpose if they are deficient in these? See, if the nucleus is not present, if we consider if this is the cell and if it is having a nucleus, right, and if nucleus is not present, the structure will be like this without the nucleus. Here the concavities will be present on both sides, so it will become biconcave and it will increase the surface area. So space in between the cells, there is another cell if it is there, So space in between the cells will be increased. More RBCs can be accommodated in that same space. So it makes them more efficient in working, although they are deficient in these organelles. And then the red blood cells, they have no mitochondria in them, which means that if they don't have mitochondria, the cellular respiration takes place in the mitochondria. So if they don't have any mitochondria, they will no cellular respiration will take place in the RBC, so they will not utilize the oxygen for their own cells. So all the oxygen which is absorbed from the lungs, it will be transported to the tissues unconsumed. So the cells will not consume the oxygen, they will only deliver the oxygen to the other tissues. Secondly, the loss of the mitochondria means the transport of glucose in the blood plasma, because it will not be used by the RBCs in producing energy, so it will be delivered to the other parts. And next is no endoplasmic reticulum. No endoplasmic reticulum, which means that the flexibility of the RBCs will be increased and they can easily move inside the narrow capillaries because they don't have the endoplasmic reticulum in them. Now there are two conditions which arise. Those two conditions which arise are, like, one is polycythemia, which means there is abnormal increase in the number of RBCs. Second condition is erythropenia, which means there is abnormal decrease in the number of RBC. So if there is abnormal increase, the condition is known as polycythemia, and if there is abnormal decrease, then the condition is known as erythropenia. Okay, next we have WBCs, which are also known as leukocytes. They are produced in the red bone marrow and by the lymph nodes. They are produced by these. And what is the difference between WBCs and RBCs? One is their shape, they are amoeboid in shape, and second, they have nucleus. RBCs, they lack nucleus and they have nucleus, and WBCs, they don't have hemoglobin in them. Now there is a term which is used for the RBCs, which is known as diapedicis. What is diapedicis? Because the WBCs, they are amoeboid in shape, so they can produce pseudopodia in them, and they can easily squeeze through the walls of the capillaries into the tissues. So that term, squeezing of the WBCs through the walls of the capillaries into the tissues, is known as diapedicis. Dia means across, and pedicis means oozing out. So from the capillaries, they can easily squeeze out into the tissues. See, if you'll see in this diagram, this is the cell. So this is the capillary where in the blood vessel they are present. So they will form a pseudopodia and they will squeeze out of the blood vessel, and this process is known as the diapedicis. Now the WBCs, they have a lifespan of around 2 weeks. RBCs, they have a lifespan of 120 days, whereas WBCs, they have a lifespan of 2 weeks. Now next, there are two types of WBCs, granular WBCs and non-granular WBCs. Now what is the difference between them? The granular WBCs, they contain cytoplasm, and this cytoplasm contains granules, and the nucleus which is present, it is constricted into lobes. And non-granular WBCs, they have cytoplasm is without granules, and they have a single large nucleus. This is the difference. They are with granules and nucleus is present in the form of lobes, whereas non-granular, they are without granules and a single large nucleus is present. Now the granule WBCs, they are of three types: neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils, whereas non-granular WBCs, they are lymphocytes and monocytes. The neutrophils, they are round about 62% neutrophils are present, and if you study their structure, they will have 3 to 4 lobes present in them, and they stain with the neutral dyes. And the function of neutrophils is that they engulf the bacteria, and they are produced by the bone marrow. Now eosinophils, they are 2 to 3%, and they are also known as acidophils, and their nucleus, they have only 2 lobes, and they usually get stained dark red with the eosin dye, which is an acid dye, hence the name acidophils. And their function is that the eosinophils, they also engulf bacteria and they release antitoxins, and they are released especially during their number increases during allergy, and they are also produced by the bone marrow. Then we have the basophils. They are stained by the basic dyes. They have nucleus which is indistinctly lobed. And what is the function of the basophils is that the basophils, they release chemicals like histamine, which helps in the inflammation, and they are also produced by the bone marrow. Then you have the non-granular WBCs, which are lymphocytes and monocytes. Now the lymphocytes, they are the smallest WBCs, and they have a single large nucleus, the lymphocytes. And what is the function of the lymphocytes? They produce antibodies, and these lymphocytes, they are produced by the bone marrow. They are produced by lymph glands like spleen, tonsils. And next is the monocytes. They also have nucleus which is large, but it is a kidney shaped nucleus is present in the monocytes, and they are produced at the site of infection. Wherever the infection is there, the monocytes are produced, and they will ingest the germs. They will ingest the germs and produced by the bone marrow. Now next are the functions of WBCs. There are 3 main functions of the WBCs. One is phagocytosis, inflammation and formation of antibodies. Now what is phagocytosis? When any foreign substance enters the body, the WBC, particularly the neutrophils, they will engulf those bacteria, and they will engulf them, and this is act like a defensive mechanism against the disease germs. So they will engulf them and they will destroy them. And if the count of the WBCs, they rise above 50,000, it indicates that some infection is there. Then we have inflammation. Now inflammation is basically the swelling which takes place. It occurs at the site of injury, wherever the tissues are injured or some germs have invaded the body. So in that reaction, inflammation will be there, swelling will take place, and the inflamed spot which is there, it shows that redness will be there, swelling, pain will be there, and these leukocytes will migrate through the walls by the process of diapedesis, and they will fight against those disease causing germs. in case of the inflammation. The leukocytes will fight and they will destroy those damaged cells by phagocytosis. And sometimes pus is also formed, and the pus is mainly composed of dead white blood cells together with the tissue cells. That is known as pus. The dead white blood cells and the tissue cells which are destroyed by the bacteria which have invaded your body. Then formation of the antibodies. This takes place by the lymphocytes, and the lymphocytes also known as the soldiers of the body. So any foreign substance enters your body, they produce antibodies which will kill or neutralize the germs, and sometimes we introduce weakened germs or germ substances by the process of vaccination inside the body, so that later on if any germs they invade your body, those antibodies which are present, they will kill those or they will destroy those disease causing germs. Last we have the blood platelets, or which are also known as thrombocytes. They are produced by the megakaryocytes in the red bone marrow. Their cells are present, giant cells are there which are known as megakaryocytes, and the platelets are derived from the megakaryocytes. And what is their lifespan? 3 to 5 days. Like RBCs, they have 120 days, WBCs around 2 weeks. Blood platelets have 3 to 5 days. These blood platelets only help in the clotting of the blood. So wherever at the site of injury, wherever a cut is there, these blood platelets will release a substance which is known as thrombokinase, which will initiate the process of blood clotting. Thank you so much.